Imagine for a moment that you are standing by a lake. The water is perfectly still. There is no wind to ripple the surface, no fish jumping to break the silence, and no stream feeding into its depths. At first glance, this scene might appear peaceful. It might even seem like the ultimate form of rest. But as you look closer, you notice something different. The water has a strange, dull color. There is a faint, heavy scent in the air. Because the water does not move, it has become stagnant. In this stillness, life has stopped circulating. There is no oxygen moving through the depths, and the vibrancy that once defined this body of water is fading away. This is the image of stagnation, a state of being inert, motionless, and eventually lifeless. Many of us live our lives like this lake. We find a position, a routine, or a mindset that feels safe, and we decide to stay there. We stop reaching, we stop questioning, and we stop moving. We tell ourselves that we are simply resting, or that we have arrived. But there is an uncomfortable truth we must face before we can begin our journey today. In the natural world, there is no such thing as standing still. If a tree is not growing, it is not simply maintaining its size. It is beginning the slow, silent process of decay. If a cell is not dividing and renewing, it is moving towards its end. Nature does not recognize a middle ground. You are either moving forward, expanding your reach and strengthening your roots, or you are retreating. To be stagnant is to begin the process of dying while you are still breathing. Consider the feeling of being stagnant in your own life. Perhaps it is a job that you have mastered to the point of boredom. You show up every day, you perform your tasks with your eyes closed, and you leave at the same time every evening. There is no challenge, no fear of failure, and consequently, no growth.
Or perhaps it is a personal habit, a way of thinking that keeps you trapped in the same social circles, the same conversations, and the same level of English proficiency. You feel a sense of false comfort. This comfort is a dangerous illusion. It is like a warm, heavy blanket on a cold morning that makes you want to stay in bed forever. It feels good in the moment, but it prevents you from seeing the sunrise. This comfort is the enemy of your potential. It convinces you that good enough is the same as great, and it whispers that the effort required to change is simply too much to bear. When we are stuck in this state of complacency, we often feel a quiet, persistent ache in the back of our minds. It is the feeling of more. You know deep down that your potential is like a vast, undiscovered continent, yet you are content to sit on the shore of a tiny island. This potential is not a gift that waits for you. It is a responsibility. To have potential and not use it is to possess a seed and never plant it. We use adjectives like dormant or inactive to describe this state, but these words do not capture the tragedy of a life lived in a golden cage of comfort. We must learn to recognize the signs of stagnation, the loss of curiosity, the resentment toward those who are succeeding, and the heavy, lethargic feeling of a day that holds no surprises. To move beyond this, we must first accept the discomfort of the truth. You are not meant to be still. You are a creature of motion, designed for the vitality of constant change. Transitioning from this uncomfortable truth requires us to look at the environment of our lives. If we are to grow, we must treat our minds like a garden. But before a gardener ever thinks about the beauty of a flower or the taste of a fruit, they must look at the soil. This is the stage of preparing the soil. Imagine a plot of land that has been neglected for years.
It is covered in weeds, filled with sharp stones, and the earth is packed so tightly that no water can penetrate the surface. You cannot simply throw seeds onto this hard ground and expect a harvest. If you do, the birds will eat the seeds, or the sun will scorch them before they can even sprout. Preparing the soil of the mind is a process of mental decluttering. It is a deliberate, often difficult act of looking at your inner world and deciding what stays and what must go. We begin by purging negative thoughts. These are the weeds of the mind. Just like real weeds, negative thoughts are opportunistic. They grow without any effort on your part. They wrap themselves around your confidence and pull it down. I am not good enough. It is too late for me to learn. Others are more talented than I am. These are the invasive species that steal the nutrients from your dreams. To prepare for growth, you must pull these thoughts out by the roots. You cannot just cut the tops off. You must go deep into your history and your self-image to remove the fear of failure that has anchored itself there. Next, we must remove the stones. In our metaphor, stones represent toxic habits and limiting beliefs. These are the heavy objects that take up space where roots should be growing. Maybe your stone is the habit of procrastination, the act of delaying your progress because you are afraid of the work. Or perhaps it is a toxic relationship that drains your energy and leaves you feeling exhausted. Eradicating these habits is not a one-time event. It is a process of cultivating a new environment. You must rake through your daily schedule and identify the hours you waste on things that do not serve your future self. As you clear away the debris, the soil becomes soft, it becomes fertile. This is the state of being open to new information, new perspectives, and new challenges.
When you irrigate this soil with curiosity and a willingness to learn, you create a space where growth is not just possible, but inevitable. You are planting the intention to change. But even after the soil is prepared and the seed is placed in the earth, the most difficult part of the journey is yet to come. Many people stop at the preparation phase because they enjoy the feeling of getting ready more than they enjoy the reality of becoming. But to become something new, something old must pass away. This leads us to the most profound and painful part of the process, the pain of the seed. Consider the life of a seed. To the outside world, it looks like a small, hard, and unremarkable pebble. But inside that hard shell is a blueprint for an entire tree. When the seed is buried in the dark, cold earth, its journey truly begins. From the perspective of the seed, this is a terrifying time. It is surrounded by constriction. The weight of the earth is pressing down on it from all sides. It is dark, it is lonely, and there is no sign of the sun. For a human being, this underground phase represents the moments of deep struggle. It is the time when you are working hard but seeing no results. It is the long hours of study, the difficult conversations, and the lonely nights of self-doubt. You feel buried. You feel as though the world has forgotten you. But it is in this darkness that the most important biological event occurs. The seed must break. The shell of the seed is its protection. It is the old version of itself. It is the version that was safe, dry, and contained. But that shell is also a prison. If the shell does not break, the life inside will never emerge. The breaking is a metamorphosis. It is violent, it is messy, and it is a total rupture of the previous state of existence. The seed does not just open a little bit. It is completely destroyed as it transforms into a sprout. This is why so many people stop their growth journey at this exact point. They feel the pressure of the earth, and they feel the pain of their old identity cracking, and they become terrified. They try to glue the shell back together. They retreat into their false comfort because they are afraid of the break. They do not realize that the pain they are feeling is not the pain of death, but the pain of birth. You cannot become the person you are meant to be while remaining the person you are today. Growth requires the persistence to stay in the darkness and the courage to let your old self shatter. We often talk about breaking habits or breaking through barriers, but we rarely stop to consider how painful that breaking actually feels. It feels like losing your sense of security. It feels like failure because you are no longer the successful version of your old self, but you are not yet the new version. You are in between. You are a seed that is half cracked in the dirt. But this rupture is the only way to reach the water and the nutrients hidden deep in the soil. Without the break, there is no emergence. The pain of the seed teaches us that discomfort is a requirement for progress. If you are feeling tight or pressured in your life right now, do not mistake that for a sign to stop. Instead, recognize it as the earth pressing against your shell, encouraging you to let go of what you used to be. The darkness is not your enemy. It is the laboratory of your transformation. The breaking is the sound of your potential finally finding its way out. As we continue this narrative, we will move from the darkness of the earth toward the first light of the surface. But for now, sit with this image. Reflect on the uncomfortable truth of your own stagnation. Look at the soil of your mind and identify the weeds and stones that need to be removed. And most importantly, do not fear the break. The shell was never meant to last forever.
It was only there to hold you until you were ready to grow. Now the soil is prepared, the darkness is fading, and it is time for the next stage of your journey. It is time to see what happens when the sprout finally reaches for the light. Now that the seed has broken and the old shell has been left behind in the dark, a new and remarkable phase begins. This is the moment of the fragile emergence. Imagine, if you will, the very second a tiny pale green shoot first pushes its way through the surface of the soil. For weeks, all the work has been internal and invisible, but now, for the first time, there is something to see. There is a manifestation of all that struggle. However, this is perhaps the most dangerous and delicate time in the entire process of growth. When you first start something new, whether you are learning a new language, starting a business, or changing a deep-seated personality trait, you are like that first sprout. You are no longer buried, but you are certainly not yet established. You are exposed. In the world of English learning, this is that uncomfortable period where you know enough to speak, but you are painfully aware of your mistakes. You feel vulnerable. You are fledgling. You have left the safety of silence, but you do not yet possess the strength of fluency. Many people feel a sense of imposter syndrome during this stage. Because the growth is so new and so small, they feel like they are pretending. They look at the giant trees around them, the experts, the native speakers, the seasoned professionals, and they feel insignificant. They think, I am so small and the world is so big. Perhaps I should have stayed in my shell. But you must understand that every mighty oak you see today was once a fragile shoot that had the courage to stay above ground. The goal of this stage is not to be strong, it is simply to stay persistent. You must protect your nascent dreams from the harsh winds of self-doubt. You must give yourself permission to be imperfect, for imperfection is the natural state of every beginning. As the sprout grows, it quickly learns that the world above the soil is much more complicated than the world beneath it. This brings us to weathering the elements. In our garden, the sun is a source of life, but it can also be a source of dehydration. The rain brings nourishment, but a heavy storm can uproot a young plant. In your life, these elements represent the external pressures and criticisms that come as soon as you start to make progress.
When you were stagnant, nobody noticed you. When you were dormant, you were safe from judgment. But the moment you start to grow, you become a target for the opinions of others. You may encounter people who are skeptical of your changes. They might ask, "Why are you working so hard?" Or, "Do you really think you can reach that level?" These comments are like a scorching sun. If you do not have a way to protect your spirit, they will wither your enthusiasm. Then there are the storms, the unexpected setbacks that life throws at everyone. Perhaps you fail an exam you studied hard for, or you lose a client, or you experience a personal crisis that demands all your energy. These moments are buffeting you. They are trying to push you back down into the dirt. But here's the secret of resilience. The wind that tries to knock a tree down is the very same wind that forces the tree to toughen its fibers. Biologically, trees that grow in windy areas have wood that is much denser and stronger than trees grown in a sheltered laboratory. Adversity is not an obstacle to your growth, it is a requirement for your strength. When you face a challenge and you refuse to give up, you are tempering your character. You are moving from fragility to durability. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" a person dedicated to growth asks, "What is this strengthening in me?" You begin to view every hardship as a training ground. This shift in perspective is what separates those who succumb to the elements from those who thrive because of them. While the sprout is busy facing the wind and the sun, there is another, more quiet process happening out of sight, the hidden anchor. For a plant to reach higher into the sky, it must simultaneously push its roots deeper into the earth. This is the stage of subterranean foundation. In our modern world, we are obsessed with visibility. We want the accolades, the followers, and the immediate results. We want the fruit without the roots. But a plant that grows too fast without a deep root system is precarious. The first gust of wind will tip it over because it has no equilibrium. Deepening your roots means focusing on character over charisma. It means building discipline when no one is watching. In language learning, the roots are the hours you spend reviewing tedious grammar rules, the repetitive drills of pronunciation, and the quiet immersion of listening to podcasts. These activities are not glamorous. You cannot post a spectacular photo of yourself studying a list of irregular verbs and expect the world to applaud. But these are the structural foundations that will support your future fluency. This subterranean work is about sustainability. It is about asking yourself, can I maintain this pace for a year, for 5 years, for a decade? Many people sprint at the beginning of their growth journey. They overexert themselves, trying to change everything in a single week. This is like a plant putting all its energy into one giant leaf while neglecting its roots. Eventually, the plant exhausts its resources and dies. True growth is incremental. It is the compounding effect of small, consistent actions taken over a long period. You must learn to value the unseen progress. Sometimes you will feel like you are not moving at all. You will look at your life and think, I am still in the same place. But if you are nourishing your mind and staying disciplined, you are growing downward. You are becoming more grounded. You are building a foundation that can support a much larger version of yourself. This invisibility is not stagnation, it is preparation. Consider the giant timber bamboo of East Asia. For the first 4 years of its life, this plant shows almost no visible growth above the ground. You could water it, fertilize it, and care for it every single day, and you would see nothing but a tiny green bulb. But in the 5th year, something miraculous happens. In a period of just 6 weeks, the bamboo grows to a height of 90 feet. The question is, did the bamboo grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer, of course, is 5 years. During those 4 years of apparent inactivity, the bamboo was growing a massive, interconnected root system that could support its explosive vertical growth.
If it hadn't spent those years in the dark building its anchor, it would have collapsed under its own weight the moment it started to climb. Your life is no different. You may be in a root-building season right now. You might feel overshadowed by others who seem to be growing faster, but do not be discouraged by their velocity. Focus on your stability. Are you refining your habits? Are you fortifying your mindset? Are you integrating what you learn into your daily life? If the answer is yes, then you are not failing. You are simply anchoring. As we move forward, we must also address the nourishment we provide for our growth. A plant cannot grow from nothing. It requires minerals, water, and light. For you, this means being selective about the information you consume. We live in an age of information overload, where we are constantly bombarded with content. Much of this content is empty calories for the mind, sensational news, mindless scrolling, and negative social comparisons. To grow optimally, you must curate your environment. Seek out high-quality input. Read books that challenge your thinking. Listen to articulate speakers who expand your vocabulary. Surround yourself with people who are aspirational, those who are a few steps ahead of you on the path. This is your irrigation. It keeps your mind supple and receptive. Furthermore, you must recognize that growth is seasonal. In nature, no plant grows at the same speed all year round. There are times of frenetic activity and times of dormancy. You too will have seasons where everything feels easy and your progress is rapid. You will also have winters where you feel uninspired and tired. During these slower periods, do not chastise yourself.
Do not think that you have lost your momentum. Instead, use these times for reflection and rest. Even the most productive garden needs to fallow occasionally to replenish its nutrients. As we conclude this second part of our journey, look back at how far you have come. You have moved from the stagnation of the lake, through the preparation of the soil, and through the pain of the break. You have emerged into the light as a fragile shoot, and you are beginning to weather the elements. You are starting to understand that the invisible work is just as important as the visible results. The journey is long, and the path is not always linear. There will be days of sunshine and days of storm. But as long as you are anchored in your purpose and persistent in your efforts, you are doing exactly what you are designed to do. You are expanding. You are evolving. You are becoming. In the next part of our narrative, we will explore the maturation process, how to handle the weight of success, how to prune what is no longer needed, and ultimately, how to produce the fruit that will benefit not just yourself, but the world around you. For now, take a deep breath, feel the strength of your nascent roots, and prepare yourself for the height you are about to reach. As you continue to ascend, moving beyond the fragile stage of the sprout and the foundational stage of the anchor, you reach a point of expansion. Your branches are now reaching wide, and your presence in the garden is undeniable. But with this growth comes a new, more sophisticated challenge. This is the art of pruning. In the early days, every new leaf was a victory. Every small branch was a sign of life. But as a tree matures, it can no longer afford to grow in every direction at once. If it tries to keep every tiny twig and every secondary branch, it will become unwieldy. Its energy will be diluted, and its strength will be compromised. Pruning is the act of selective elimination. In your life and your career, this means learning the difference between good opportunities and great ones. When you are just starting, you say yes to everything because you are hungry for growth. But as you become proficient, as you master your English, your craft, or your discipline, you must learn the power of no. You must sever the branches that are taking up space but giving nothing back. These might be old projects that no longer inspire you, social commitments that drain your energy, or even secondary skills that are distracting you from your true mastery. This process is often counterintuitive. It feels like you are diminishing yourself. You might think, why would I cut away something that is healthy? But a master gardener knows that by cutting away the mediocre, you are redistributing that vital energy to the extraordinary. You are forcing the tree to put its nutrients into its most productive areas. This is essential for reaching the next level of excellence. It requires discernment and a high degree of focus. You are no longer just growing for the sake of size. You are growing for the sake of impact. Ask yourself, what parts of my life are cluttering my canopy? What habits have I outgrown? Pruning is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of maturity. It is the moment you stop being a generalist and start becoming a specialist. By narrowing your scope, you increase your intensity. You become a concentrated force of nature. This refinement is what allows a tree to live for centuries rather than decades. It creates a structure that is efficient, balanced, and resilient. Once the pruning is complete, the tree begins to develop its canopy. This is the broad, umbrella-like structure that defines a mature tree. In human terms, the canopy represents your influence and your success.
But there is a hidden reality to this stage that few people talk about: the weight of the canopy. The higher you climb and the more prominent you become, the more gravity and wind you must contend with. Success is not just a reward, it is a burden of responsibility. When you reach a high level of fluency or leadership, people begin to look to you for guidance. You are no longer just responsible for your own survival. You are now responsible for the ecosystem beneath you. Your canopy provides shade for others. It protects smaller plants from the intensity of the sun. This is the stewardship of growth. You have moved from self-interest to service. But this weight requires an immense amount of internal strength. If your integrity, your inner wood, is not solid, the weight of your own success will fracture you. Many people aspire to the top without realizing the velocity of the wind at that height. In the world of professional English, this means that as you speak more powerfully, your words carry more consequence. You must be more precise. You must be more thoughtful. You must maintain your equilibrium, even when you are under scrutiny. The canopy stage is about poise. It is about having the stature to stand tall, while having the flexibility to bend without breaking. This leads us to the ultimate purpose of the entire journey, the harvest and the legacy. Why did the seed break? Why did the sprout endure the storms? Why did the tree grow deep roots and prune its branches? It was not just to exist. It was to produce. A tree that never bears fruit has, in a biological sense, failed its mission. Fruit in your life is the value you create for the world. It is the knowledge you share, the problems you solve, and the inspiration you provide. When you have mastered a skill, your harvest is the ability to teach others. When you have achieved financial or personal success, your harvest is the ability to contribute to your community. This is the stage of abundance. You have more than you need, and you begin to disseminate your surplus. But look closer at the fruit. Inside every fruit, there are seeds. This is the legacy phase. A single tree can generate a forest. Your growth does not end with you. When you mentor a colleague, or when you encourage another language learner, or when you lead a project with integrity, you are planting seeds in the minds of others. You are starting the cycle of growth all over again in someone else. This is immortality. Your influence will continue to reverberate long after your own season has passed. The legacy stage requires a final, beautiful act of surrender. Just as a tree must eventually drop its fruit and let go of its seeds, you must learn to delegate and empower others. You must be willing to let your offspring, your students, your employees, your children, grow beyond you. True growth is not territorial, it is generative. It seeks to expand the life around it, not to dominate it. Think about the lineage of your own growth. Who planted the seeds in you? Who provided the shade when you were a fragile sprout? Who pruned you with their honest feedback? You are a part of a vast, interconnected chain of growth that spans generations. By reaching your potential, you are honoring those who came before you and paving the way for those who will follow.
As we reach the conclusion of It's Time for Growth, we return to where we began, the image of the lake. But now imagine that the lake is no longer stagnant. Imagine that a vigorous stream has been carved into the earth, feeding the lake with fresh, oxygenated water. Imagine that trees are lining the shore, their roots holding the soil in place, and their canopies creating a thriving habitat for birds and animals.
The silence of stagnation has been replaced by the symphony of a living ecosystem. This is the life you are meant to live. You are not designed for the dullness of the false comfort. You are designed for the intensity of the breaking, the persistence of the emergence, and the magnificence of the harvest. You have the capacity for infinite renewal. Even if you feel like a dormant seed today, or a weathered tree that has lost its leaves in a long winter, remember that the potential for growth is still embedded in your DNA. Growth is not a destination that you reach and then stop. It is a perpetual motion. It is a commitment to being better today than you were yesterday. It is the courage to keep stretching your branches toward the unknown sky. The English you are learning is just one vessel for this growth. The career you are building is just one branch. The person you are becoming is the masterpiece. Take a moment now to contemplate your own trajectory. Look at your roots and feel their stability. Look at your trunk and feel its strength. Look at your canopy and see the possibilities. The garden of your life is vast, and the season for your advancement is now. There will be more storms, more winters, and more pruning to come, but you are no longer afraid of the process. You know that every challenge is nutritious. You know that every setback is foundational. Go forth with intentionality. Be deliberate in your actions and audacious in your dreams. The world does not need more stagnant lakes. It needs vibrant, growing forests. It needs people who are unapologetic about their potential. It needs the fruit that only you can produce. The sun is rising over your canopy. The air is crisp and full of opportunity. The earth beneath you is fertile and supportive. Everything you need to reach your zenith is already within you. The preparation is over.
The breaking is done. The emergence has begun. Now it is simply a matter of continuing. It's time to flourish. It's time to expand. It's time to thrive. It's time for growth.